1962, Kennedy was constantly at center stage. Nehru got the surprise of his life. De Gaulle became France. And Castro was forced to eat crow with his caviar. While his tablemate decided he didn't like Mao's Chinese food. 90 miles from Florida, Castro's Cuba finally provoked the United States to quarantine the island. This forceful action was triggered by evidence gathered by U-2 plane reconnaissance. Aerial films revealed the presence on Cuban soil of offensive Russian nuclear weapons. It was a reckless gamble to which President Kennedy reacted swiftly. He ordered the fleet to turn back or seize ships attempting to augment this aggressive buildup. Kennedy then reinforced Guantanamo Naval Base and informed Khrushchev he would regard any missile launched from Cuba as an attack by Russia requiring full retaliation. Khrushchev capitulated and the world relaxed. This film showed the Soviet missiles and planes returning to their point of origin. In 1962, the world's first privately owned satellite, the Telstar, was thrust into space. A communications triumph rivaling Morse's telegraph and Marconi's wireless. It relayed TV pictures instantaneously across the Atlantic Ocean. With Colonel Glenn as pioneer, the U.S. lofted its first orbiting manned satellite. Commander Carpenter followed, and then their 3 orbit flights were surpassed by Commander Schirra's 6-orbit tour of outer space. America's hours of suspense and tension originated with powerful blasts from Cape Canaveral, Florida, blazing the trail which would lead to deeper exploration of the mysterious solar system. The U.S. was back in the space race. The fullest publicity attended the launching of the Project Mercury Capsules. Millions stared at the heavens as never before as the astronauts confronted the darkness of the universe to boost America's prestige. To the returning astronaut, an anxious wife reflected the relief and admiration of an applauding world. The U.S. continued to another space triumph with Mariner 2, a sophisticated unmanned spacecraft with orders to gather data on the planet Venus. Now at the year's turn, it has already relayed back to Earth invaluable reports on the romantic star. The Mariner's eerie computer messages are now being carefully translated by exulting scientists who describe the venture as America's most splendid achievement in space. In 1962, the East German communists and their Russian big brothers celebrated the first anniversary of the shameful Berlin Wall. Hope languished, yet the young, desperate for freedom, recklessly challenged the savage barrier, and some died. Berlin continued to flare dangerously in the midst of the Cold War. The Algerian War had its final convulsion. The granting of independence was followed by OAS murders that sent Muslims raging through the streets. Once peace was restored, the Algerians went to the polls. They confirmed the wisdom of de Gaulle's policies, as did a plebiscite in France, and a new nation joined the world community. Ahmed Ben Balla returned from exile to assume leadership, a young man whose new regime must now be underwritten by the powers of the world. In Rome, church history was made. The Catholic hierarchy convened in Vatican City at the call of Pope John for the first Ecumenical Council in nearly 100 years. It was a gathering presided over by the Holy Father that strove for Christian unity. President Kennedy's wife, Jacquelin, became an international personality in her own right during a jaunt to India. A gracious manner combined with her beauty made her the Goodwill Ambassador of the Year. And then a subsequent tour confirmed her newly won reputation when she and Caroline captivated Italy. Eleanor Roosevelt died. a bereavement to the whole world. A spokesman for human rights all her life, at her death she had been for 3 decades the First Lady of the world. Marilyn Monroe met tragic death in Hollywood, the end of a career that rocketed from an orphanage to international stardom on the screen. In a year of scientific marvels, the engineering oddity was the flip ship, a vessel whose stern submerges. While astronauts probe the sky in capsules, Flip, when she flops, will enable oceanographers to peer into the depths. Also in 1962, thank the fates, the annual Festivals of Beauty brightened the troubled world. At Atlantic City, Jacquelin Mayer became Miss America. In a world of international hocus pocus, real old hands can still resolve problems with airy ease. And finally, an unsuspecting cameraman who survived the year's hazardous history finds himself bewitched.